Without doubt, there's a lot of problems that are facing organizations with the Broadcom acquisition. Cost is the obvious one, but we're now starting to see multiple areas of the business be impacted. That's why we built CloudBridge Shift as a service offering to help those VMware customers that are on-premise understand what the options are, and if cloud migration is the right thing for them to do, rapidly migrate into AWS so they've got a future without that commercial tie into Broadcom. Tom, I'm hearing from customers seemingly every day. Well, what is it that you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing some customers are telling us costs are going up several times versus what they were paying before. But it's not just the cost, it's also the uncertainty. So people are seeing that their quotes that they're getting are delayed, so they don't really know what the price will be. Sometimes when they do get the quotes, it's too late for them to have any other option. So what we urging customers to do is to look at the options ahead of time, assess whether you can move away from VMware. And where we come in is helping customers assess a migration to AWS, and to do that without risk, to enable customers to have a little bit more knowledge about what their options are.
The cost is the emotional part, because it's the thing that everyone gets most concerned by, but actually I think that's what we're doing. We're trying to look beyond cost. What is the information that we need to give to customers? And through our partnership with Amazon, we built this programmatic approach to get the right data to the right audience so that they can make an educated decision on what they do going forward. And we don't just focus in on the obvious, which is let's help you try and mitigate additional expense. So Tom, with all of the challenges taken into account, could you tell me a little bit more about what we've done with our zero cost rapid migration assessment service?
This is built on our track record of having done hundreds of migrations from a variety of different on-premises environments. So obviously a lot of that will be VMware, but other on-premises estates as well. So we're taking that and we're building on it by emphasizing speed so that we can get a go or no-go decision, the information that the customer needs in order to decide whether to go ahead very quickly. And the other thing is that is low risk, so we are able to fund this assessment so that the customer's not having to outlay in order to get the information they need. And what that means is even if customers are not entirely sure what their renewal quote will be or what the options are, this is giving them those data points that they need in order to get a bit closer to a solution for when their renewal does come around.
It's giving them that go-no decision-making ability, but equally not distracting their teams with days, weeks and months of work that we can do for them and deliver as an outcome. And that really comes about because we've got the breadth of understanding of migrations that we've done. Like you said, we've seen dozens of different target locations move into AWS. So it really gives us that ability to execute quickly without compromising the detail that we're giving to the organization.
Absolutely. We have this idea of, don't ask the customer the same thing twice. We want to be really efficient with the information that we get and really aware of the customer's time so that we're taking that, as you say, taking our experience and putting that together to give them what we think they're going to need, but without too much padding or anything else. So it's all about efficiency, using the customer's time as well as we can.
So the key driver initially for most organizations was cost. I think we're addressing that concern by talking about our ability to rapidly migrate customers. But what we're doing is we're not putting obligations in. So we're saying we can come and do this piece of work, we can deliver that work quickly, but actually you don't have to engage us thereafter. What's your take on that from an IT perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about big migration projects here. There's always a lot of unknowns. So what we have to do as a consultancy is to come in and remove as many of those unknowns as possible. We're never going to come in and tell the customer how much it will cost straight away and ask for a check for that. What we have to do is phase it. So phase one is that discovery. There is then no obligation to proceed with a migration, of course. There's no way there could be. So it's all about getting a packaged bit of work, giving the customer a report at the end of it, and then making sure that they've got that information to make a decision. So once we've done the assess phase, we have that report with all the information that's needed to make a decision. And then we move into the mobilize phase, and that's where we do the really granular, detailed workload by workload planning and move into beginning the migration. The really crucial thing is it's about phasing, it's about having those checkpoints so there isn't an obligation at the beginning to move all the way through, and it's making sure the customers got the information they need at every step of the way.
The great thing is that we can remove the obvious commercial blockers in the short term.
Yeah, and actually it's worth saying, not just at the beginning, but also all the way through the engagement, there is help for each part of it. So it really makes the whole migration a lot smoother, and it removes a lot of the blockers. Once a customer has begun that migration and migrated workloads into AWS, then the conversation can shift, and it's like, what are the other possibilities? What else can we do now that we're here? Actually, there's things that we weren't able to do on premises that we can now do. You're moving into an ecosystem with hundreds of different services that AWS provides. The obvious ones are compute, database, but of course there's a whole world of AI solutions, analytics, all kinds of different technologies that we use. The challenge then is to look at the workloads that the customer's brought in and ask what the possibilities are. Some of those are obvious, others may be a bit more radical, but the point is the customer's got this big palette of options to choose from, and it really can help the customer innovate, get new products to market more quickly, all of that good stuff. And they get that just by being part of that ecosystem.
The two things there for me that are key are innovation and growth. The innovation is there in abundance with the services that are available. It's the growth part that's interesting. I think a lot of customers that I'm speaking to, the VMware customers, have been stifled with the growth of their IT function. There's a lot of unknowns. Where are VMware going as a platform? There's not the breadth of service offerings that they can get in cloud. So suddenly removing those barriers for adoption, and then having a partner like CloudBridge, where we've got the people, the competencies, the capabilities, the experience with those additional products and services, and we can be really focused about how a customer can adopt those, drive proof of concepts, but take that right the way through into production. It gives them endless opportunities in some respects.
Absolutely. And one thing I love, and AWS say this a lot, is AWS removes the undifferentiated heavy lifting as well. So all of the kind of run-of-the-mill stuff that you might get, from patching servers and that kind of stuff, if you choose, you can remove that by moving to some of AWS's managed services. So that can free up people to really innovate and not just be keeping their eyes on.
So we've talked about getting a customer the right information rapidly, giving them all of the answers to the questions that they currently don't have answers to, and then hopefully helping them to rapidly migrate into AWS. But for me, that's where the fun really starts. For the customer, for us, customer can innovate, drive new technologies, new projects. But for us, it's about doing the basics, looking at things like FinOps. Where can we help the customer optimize, consolidate, retire, right size, optimized by adopting new certain technologies from AWS. But equally, invariably that always instigates a modernization conversation for us, which is clearly a much bigger piece of work, but opportunities there for an organization to improve their ways of working are huge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always about prioritizing as well. So those FinOps reports that we give our customers every month, giving a whole range of different ways to save money, what you have to do is optimize the right things first, and we obviously help with that. That can lead on to, as you say, things like modernization. But actually, going back a step, of course, if we're talking about on-prem, that's something that just doesn't really happen because you've got fixed infrastructure, all of the hardware up front, you select the assets, all that kind of stuff. So when you move on to cloud, potentially you can pay per second, which can be scary for customers, and we obviously help with that with our FinOps practice, and we help customers predict what the cost will be. But what it means is that you can really start to shut things off when you're not using them, and with a little bit of adjustment to your application, you can scale things in and out. That means that when times are quiet, you can scale right back and save cost. Now that obviously isn't possible always, depending on the application, but we help customers to do that. And that can unlock a huge amount of savings and also enable customers to scale up very quickly when they need to.
It doesn't stop, right? Everything's changing every month. And I use that mantra of we help the customers to get that visibility, regain control, and then adopt cloud with confidence, right? They know that they're well optimized. They know they've got good structure in place. And then it's a case of now we can start to build and really drive that innovation.
Yeah, and AWS has this lovely metaphor of the flywheel, where it's a virtuous cycle. Saving money, they're using that money to invest in the services, and they're then building better services and making more money, and so it goes round. So that's really important. And of course that leads on to the conversation about modernizing, taking your potentially legacy applications that have been there for many years and looking at how can we optimize these, can we move them to open source.
The important part is that we don't want to overface customers we're working with. So these things are optional. FinOps as a service is something that we do and deliver for all our customers. It's a consistent approach in terms of the outcomes that we deliver and the data points that we present back, the noise that we remove, the heavy lifting that we do. But equally, that modernization opportunity for organizations, that's something that we see as kind of a phase 2 from a cloud migration. Let's lift and shift you, let's right size, let's do all the smart stuff, but let's get you in a stable place, with cloud adoption. Maybe there's some native services at that point, but then if that's something a customer wants to look at, they want to see what those candidates could be to modernize, then we can get the funding from Amazon to support those conversations, from initial discovery, assessment, viability assessment, right the way through to proof of concept workloads. We can do the entire bit, but Amazon will give us that support again to commercially remove some of those barriers for customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's that ongoing review process and saying, oh, we've got an opportunity here. Well, we go off because we're experts in funding. We go off and we talk to Amazon, we scope it, and we work out how much funding we can get for that. It very much is a continuous process of looking out for the next thing that we can help with.
There are a number of customers that I'm speaking to now that have these looming deadlines, some cases as short as 6 months out. I think most on average are between 12 to 18 months. So the obvious question is, why wait? Let's kick things off straight away. Again, what's your take and view on that?
The key thing here is there isn't a risk because these engagements are funded to start with. So there is no risk to getting more information and to conducting an assessment. Even if you're not set on moving to AWS, it's another data point, it's another set of possibilities, and there's no obligation. So that's really the key here, is there's a lot of uncertainty that people are dealing with the VMware changes. So anything that can reduce that uncertainty and give a bit more information in order to enable customers to make the right decision is a good thing. And with AWS funding these initial assessments, it's a great time to just go ahead and do that.
Don't delay. Let's start the conversation today. Let us help you get that visibility. Let's answer some of those questions that you have question marks against at the moment. And then let's look at what does that innovation growth look like. Your final thoughts, Tom? What's your view?
Absolutely. This is about getting certainty, but it's also about unlocking possibilities. By starting on this initial assessment, you're beginning that journey to be able to innovate, to grow, and to hopefully save costs and become more agile as well.